Boy of tennis, but even his critics concede he may also have been the most brilliant player ever to stride onto and storm around a court. For a month now, John McEnroe has been on the comeback trail after almost 2 years on sabbatical. It's been a rocky voyage, even though 2 weeks ago in Tokyo, he won his first tournament title since 1986. We asked him if we could come out to California, where he lives with his wife, Tatum O'Neal, and their 2 sons, to see how life on and off the court has changed now that the mercurial boy wonder of tennis has become a father and a 29-year-old man. Walk with them down the beach outside their house in Malibu, and they look just like any other young family. John and Tatum with sons Kevin and Sean. No more the constant diet of big cities, bright nights, clamoring paparazzi. The McEnroes are serious about their children and their responsibilities. And yet, you always sense just beneath the surface the presence of the actress and the tennis champ who are still learning to live life in a goldfish bowl. In McEnroe, it's that combination of vulnerability and arrogance, warmth and suspicion. And when the subject turns to tennis, the way he's always ready to take a shot.
You think tennis is boring without you?
I think tennis is boring with me, and it's ridiculous without me. You know, I can't even watch it. It's on TV constantly, and no one watches it. I don't know why it continues to be on TV when we have 1 or 2 ratings. But, you know, it's all because, I guess, the right people watch it, you know, the rich people.
But who needs it more? Do you need tennis more, or does tennis need you more?
I would say that... I would say tennis needs me more, but I need tennis too, you know.
Part of it is that you want your career to be respected in a certain way.
I suppose respect is important to me. And there's a fear inside me that maybe people are just going to not look at the facts. The facts right now speak for themselves. But there's a fear, I suppose, that like if I walked away from it right now, people wouldn't look at them carefully enough. They would say, oh, you know, this guy, you know, lost it, you know, in a couple of years, and what happened to him, and they wouldn't talk about what I actually did for that 8-9 year period.
McEnroe's 8 or 9 glory years, he won 3 Wimbledon, 4 U.S. Open titles, ended abruptly in late 1985. After all that time playing some of the most brilliant tennis ever seen, his career simply came apart. He was trying to carry on a romance and then marriage with Tatum, and still play tennis at an unrelenting pace. And then a mediocre opponent rolled over him in a big match in New York, just after the Australian Open, where he played so badly and lost his temper.
That's the first match where I felt like I was negative to the sport. The Australian Open, where I was going out there and not giving 100% effort. That's the first time where I felt like I was hurting the sport of tennis, and I quickly put an end to it because I didn't feel like I should be out there if I'm doing that. My outlook was becoming negative, and to be as fortunate as I was and to have accomplished all I'd accomplished and to have all that I have and have the adulation and the money that you make that's beyond your wildest dreams and not to be happy, that said to me that there's something wrong. That it's time to take a step back and say, wait a minute, why do you feel this way? I mean, you sit there and look at all the horrible things that are going on in this world and say, what the hell am I complaining about? So I felt that I was becoming a negative to the sport.
You know, the rumor is still out there that it's drugs, and that part of it is you can't come back because you had drug trouble.
I can safely say that it's not true.
All just rumors?
All just rumors.
How do you assess the 1.5 years on the comeback trail?
Basically, it's been a dismal failure. It's been just worse than a bad nightmare. What it could have been. It's just been unbelievable. I mean, every possible thing could go wrong has gone wrong. Physically, mentally, press, yelling, just everything. You know, as far as my job, the other part has been great.
The personal life.
Hi, Tatum.
Tell me about Tatum. She said once that you said she's the John McEnroe of the female variety.
Well, that's her bad qualities. You know, she's got the bad John McEnroe qualities, but she's a great lady, and she's She is a lot like I am. We're similar in a lot of ways, but...
because you've lived life in the bubble?
Even when I was really young, I said, maybe I should meet this girl because she's probably can relate to what I've been through. But I said, well, first she's got to grow up a little. She was 10 years old. She won an Academy Award, and I was 18. My mouth hurts. I haven't smiled that much in my life. She's incredibly grown up, but yet young at the same time, like I am. We're both growing up. We both turned from, like, spoiled kids to hopefully mature adults.
Do you feel your wild youths are over?
Well, now I have a baby. I can't be wild. I have a big responsibility, and I not only have one, but I have two. So these babies they're your blood, and they totally need you. I mean, they're just little tiny desperate things.
Hey, be nice to Sean.
I'm always thinking of them, and I'm sure John is too. It's so hard to think of anything else,
Have you seen what he says is true? Have you seen a relaxation about the tennis because of the children?
Off the court.
I've seen a happiness happen.
She's seen it off the court.
Happy off the tennis court, but he admits that when he's on the court, his brilliance is sometimes overwhelmed by his boorishness. In the glory days, he could get away with the tantrums, smash rackets, abuse officials, and still win the match. But he knows a guy struggling on the comeback trail can't afford it. Still, try as he may, McEnroe can't stop.
Before I play and when I'm introduced, great hand. It's a tremendous feeling. And then by the end of the match, inevitably, I've got most of the people against me. It's a fantastic quality that I have there. It's an ability that not many people have.
You think you have a self-destructive streak?
Oh, definitely, I mean, it's absolute stupidity for me to do like some of the things I've done.
Answer my question! The question, jerk!
I honestly believe I saw the ball a lot better than they did, and that they should respect that. I mean, if you tested my vision against any of those people, there's 70-year-old people in the Lions chairs falling asleep during matches, and, they acted like they were doing you a favor.
But it's one thing, isn't it, to question somebody, and another to call them the pits of the world?
I did, go overboard on occasion. On a couple of occasions. A couple hundred? 1,000? No, it was only a couple hundred.
There's also a school of thought that you do it for the theater. You do it because it's good box office.
No, I do it because that's just what came out, and it's just, none of it was pre-planned. That I can say unabashedly. Why do people want to know about that? I mean, that doesn't seem interesting to me. It's embarrassing to everybody.
Well, that's what a lot of people say. It's embarrassing to tennis. It's embarrassing to the United States when you're abroad.
So why did CBS show it? I used to believe that for like 8, 9 years. Hey, how come they don't just... I'm the artist, I'm the one sticking my neck on the line. You just have to try to just look past the rough edges and look at the good things. Now it's kind of like, well, I've really got to change myself and hope that, yes? I'll be there in a minute. And, and that's one reason also why I feel like that's a big responsibility. But also, most importantly, because of myself. I feel it's just important to continue to grow. In a minute, Kevin!
But the people who watch it look so simple. They say, why don't you just not do that anymore?
That's what my dad says.
We all see him sitting there, impassive. Whether you're winning or losing, you can't see it on his face. Whether you're erupting or in control, his face doesn't register. Is it tough to have your family so involved in your profession, really, in your career? Sometimes do you wish you just had a father instead of a...
Sometimes I do wish that, and he doesn't really come to that many matches anymore. And as a matter of fact, there was a stage where I thought it'd be better to maybe look around and get involved with someone else as sort of a manager. He was my manager for years and years, and, really in essence, he still is. I mean, that's
tough?
Well, it's tough because, it was like, when I talked to my father, it'd be like, okay, listen, I got Rotterdam and Brussels and Milan, you know, and it was always tournament talk and money and stuff like that, and it wasn't like, hey, how you doing type thing, and that's what I missed.
Championship to McEnroe!
McEnroe's dad was a fixture at the games right from the beginning. From the moment McEnroe burst on the scene at Wimbledon at the age of 18, a kid with a headband and a hair-trigger temper who stormed around like a punk rocker at a violin recital.
Confident fool. I said he was the pitch of the world. That's exactly what he is.
Another point against Mr. McEnroe.
But along with the tantrums, there was the tennis. Pure genius wherever he played.
Oh, what a shot! I was doing things that just took it to another level. You know, really, it was just, it became, for someone that was interested in tennis, they could see something they had not seen before. You know, something that it was shocking to people.
Even shocking to the 25-year-old reigning champion, Bjorn Borg, who decided to retire after losing the U.S. Open to the kid with all the shots.
It was a great rivalry, you know. It shocked me when he decided not to play, and it really affected my game for a while. And I don't think tennis has ever gotten over it, and I don't think I ever did.
So you think the Lendls and the Beckers of the world are not the most exciting players?
Well, I think that speaks for itself. Let's put it this way. As our number one player, I don't think Lendl is the ultimate ambassador of our game. You know, he reminds me of a robot. You know, but I feel like he's not... his game, to me, is not exciting. You know, it's obvious that it's not a flowing, natural game. And let's hope that someone comes along that has natural ability, hopefully myself, that puts a person like that in his place. I don't hold any grudges that, you know, he works harder than me. I mean, I have more natural ability in, you know, one finger than he has in his whole hand. So it doesn't, you know, but he works harder. So right now, the worker's beating the talent.
And if he had more talent, he also had more of what goes with it, the celebrity and the money. Though you get the feeling from John it was more than just the money. When South Africa offered him $1 million for one match, he said no. He was one of the few top stars to play for his country for free. He single-handedly made the U.S. a Davis Cup contender again. If the crowds didn't always like him, his fellow players respected his blunt honesty, his generosity, and his love of the game. He had a dream of becoming known as the greatest player of all time, and he had a fantasy acted out in a homemade rock video, that he would go out on top of the tennis world and play lead guitar in a band. As it turned out, both his guitar and his tennis needed a bit more work.
Foxy lady.
All right.
Get something! It's a lot closer than it looks. Just like I'm a lot closer to getting back on the court than it may appear.
I think you're one step away from...
You know, it looks like I'm 70 steps away, but I'm only about 30.
Number one, can you be back on top?
I think so. I look at the people out there, and there's nothing happening that interesting. Back is going to be back, you know. I don't know how far back. I think the sky's the limit, you know. I'll shoot for the stars, and I'll settle for the moon. And I'll give it a hell of a try.
Terrific.
I'd like to give myself another year. And if it turns out it just doesn't mean enough to me, I'm not going to force the issue at this stage. I've already forced it a little bit before, and look what happened to me. You know, look what happened in this U.S. Open in 1987.
What happened at last September's U.S. Open stunned everyone, especially the people who thought McEnroe had begun to grow up. We asked him to watch a videotape replay of the incident.
Paul! Couldn't you see anything? That cost me the damn set! Because of that, the set was over! That ball was out! The set was over!
Code violation, sportsmanlike conduct.
You know that?
Point penalty, Mr. McEnroe.
You can't see a thing if you couldn't see any of those balls. Those balls...
What would you think if that were somebody besides you?
I would be amused. You know, I wish it was someone besides me. But, you know, it's over. I'm trying to deal with it.
You said once that it was almost like an addiction, that when it started coming on, you couldn't stop it.
That's what happened there.
Is that tough to watch?
It's very tough to watch. You know, it's quite embarrassing. You know, it's something that I hope I don't have to see too many more times. I feel that I'm allowing these people to affect me, that I'm not rising above and acting the way someone in my stature and my sport should.
Do me a favor, stick that mic.
When your sons, Sean and Kevin, grow up and see these things, what are you going to tell them?
That's something that I've thought about quite often. I haven't come up with, you know, exactly what I will talk about, but I think they'll learn from it. If they're like their father, they'll learn from their mistakes, and their fathers as well. I feel I'm a person of integrity. You know, and I made a horse's ass out of myself at times, okay? And I wish that people would give me you know, dwell on the positive.
What's that? What is that? Microphone? Can you say that? Can you say hello, Grandpa and Grandma? Can you say that right there? Hi, Grandma and Grandpa. No! You can relate to that, right?
What are you going to tell them, that you just, hadn't grown up? What?
Well, that's one thing I could tell them. But, I mean, I was growing up. I just wasn't growing up on the court.
This is history?
I'm hoping that it's history. You know, if it turns out that it's not history, you're not going to see very much more of John McEnroe on the tennis court. But if I don't feel like I get a grip on it, I'm not going to go out there in the first place. So it's like, it's a demon that I have to deal with. I'm building up his strength already. Up the mountain, up the hill. Come on. Good boy.
If you look at the anatomy of the world's